Hey, what is going on, guys? In this video today, we're going to be going over 5 building/editing tips for controller Fortnite. And when I say that, it's not like the tips only work for controller players. They'll work just fine if you use mouse and keyboard. But since I'm a controller player, if I ever need to talk about specific buttons, it's obviously going to be in terms of controller buttons. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so the first tip in this video is going to deal with a fairly common issue that players run into while editing in any kind of box fight. And this issue can occur in a few different situations, but the most common is when you've built a regular old 1x1 with a staircase inside of it so you can peek over the top, which may literally be the single most built structure in all of Fortnite. Now, what will happen in this situation sometimes is that a player will start approaching you on a side that's away from the direction where your stairs are facing. Now, maybe the smarter play in this situation is to just flip your stairs, but what a lot of people will do here is just edit out the top corner of their wall so they have a clear line of sight on the enemy. So you'll get a few AR or SMG shots off, but then you're going to want to close that wall with an edit so they can't shoot back at you. And that's when the problem arises. Since none of your wall is visible from the angle you're at inside of the 1x1, if you look at where your wall was and just press the edit button normally, it'll just keep saying unable to edit building over and over again. And that right there gets so many people killed in box fights and various other situations. But what a lot of people don't know is that there's actually a simple solution to prevent this from happening. All you have to do is pull out your building menu and the game will actually let you edit the wall this time from the exact same position, so you can just reset it, confirm it, and then you're good to go. Definitely a bit of a situational tip, but it's also one that'll probably end up saving your life a few times in your Fortnite career. The next tip in this video is one that I actually saw from Nick30 a few days ago. It's a fairly simple and really effective way to use structures and some creative editing to shoot at an enemy when you're in a 1x1 while also being almost totally protected from all angles while doing so. But since there is a little bit of a setup here with the placement and editing, I would only recommend using this tip in a situation where you're in a really nice power position, or just a place where you don't think you're going to be repositioning in the immediate future. So what you're going to do is open up the wall towards the direction you want to shoot in, and place one pyramid on top of your box and one on the bottom. You can also place an optional pyramid at your feet to make this a little bit better, but it isn't totally necessary. So let's say the angle you want to shoot at is the left side of the front wall. You're first going to edit the top left corner of the wall and then edit the bottom pyramid so that the only square that isn't raised is the closest left one. And then if you place the third pyramid, you'd edit only the top left square. And as you can see, you now have an absolutely perfect angle to shoot from where you're totally protected on every other side. You'll basically be able to fire off AR shots non-stop from this angle, and even if the enemies are looking right at you, they're barely going to be able to see any of your actual body. And of course, if you wanted to instead fire at the right side, you just flip all the instructions that I just gave. Edit the top right corner of the wall, all 3 squares of the bottom pyramid except for the one closest to you, and then finally raise the top right square of the pyramid inside your 1x1. The setup may seem a little long at first, but trust me, once you get it down, it'll honestly take you less than 5 seconds total. Tip number 3 is an interesting way to go about breaking and replacing an enemy's roof. And this is one of those break and replace tips that's way less dependent on having good ping than the typical methods that most players use. So let's say you run into a fairly typical situation where you force an enemy to turtle inside a 1x1 and you can't take his walls, so you decide to try and take his roof instead. Now, since 90% of players will build their 1x1 with a cone on top of their roof, the first thing you need to do is break and replace that. But luckily, it always seems like cones on top of roofs are way easier to replace than normal structures for whatever reason. So once you do that, here's where this clever little trick comes into play. I'll actually just quickly play a clip of me showcasing the trick fairly slowly, and then I'll briefly explain what happened and how it works. So here's how that worked. Once you have the cone on top of the roof, you just want to open a corner of it like you normally do. Then you want to hit the closest part of the roof to you one time so the blue circle shows up, and then you want to close the pyramid. This will make the enemy think that you're no longer going after their roof, and to really sell it, you can even jump down and look away, kinda like I did in that clip. But then, after waiting a second, you're gonna turn back around and hit the blue circle, which glitches the game into destroying the roof even though the closed pyramid is still on top of it. You'll also be able to replace the roof you just destroyed through the pyramid as well, which is an added bonus. The fourth tip in this video is a super simple low material box up strategy. The typical 1x1 with a roof and cone that 99% of players build is going to cost you 60 total materials, but there are situations where you either don't want to use that many or simply don't have that many. So what you can do instead is this right here. So pretty self-explanatory there. Place a cone, edit away a corner of it, and then surround that side with two walls. You'll be protected from every angle just like a normal 1x1, but it'll cost you half the materials since you use 30 instead of 60. And you can even edit the two walls to get shots on an enemy almost exactly like you would in a normal 1x1. The final tip in this video is probably the most creative break and replace method I've ever seen, and it's actually fairly simple to execute. So this is going to be used in the exact same situation as tip number 3. You run into an enemy turtled up in a 1x1, and you want to break and replace one of his structures so you can kill him. But you've tried the regular break and replace methods and they haven't worked. So now I'll show you guys a quick clip of another interesting alternative that you can try that involves destroying two walls at the exact same time. So that's a trick that you can do with any shotgun in the game except for the purple and gold tags. All you have to do is pickaxe both walls once if they're wood, then shoot each of the walls one time with your shotgun. After that, if you back up a little bit and then shoot the spot where the two walls are connected at, the pellet spread of the shotgun should do enough damage to both walls to destroy them at the exact same time. And then it's really as simple as replacing the wall that your opponent wasn't staring at. Plus, much like tip number 3, this should catch them off guard the majority of the time, which means even if you're someone who plays on really high ping, you should be able to get an uncontested replace, which is basically your only hope in these situations. And you can even get super advanced with this tip and destroy 3 structures at the same time. But based on my testing, that's a lot more difficult to execute, but I'll just show you guys a quick clip of someone doing it so you can see it in action. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you watched the entire thing, be sure to let me know with a comment down the comment section below. Out of the 5 tips in this video, which one did you find the most helpful, interesting, or you just didn't already know? Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.